Okay, day number 8 of the storytelling project. Yesterday I chose fire, but then decided to tell a different story instead. So I'm going to tell a quick fire story today. Where to start? This past summer, I had an intern working with me that was, let's just say, a distant relative. He's my brother-in-law's cousin's kid that I knew quite well when he was young, like 4 or 5, and then had not seen until he was an adult. He's in graduate school. Sam is now living in New York City and is in architecture school and came to work with Michael and I at Archimedes Design last summer, helping fabricate the domes. Ended up going to Burning Man with us and, generally became part of the family. I was talking to him one day, and he was talking about spending time at my sister's house when he was a little kid, about he and my nephew Charlie, and about his most vivid memory of hanging out at that house was playing with fire. And I said, "What do you mean playing with fire?" And he's like, "Oh, we played with fire all the time. We're always building fires and setting things on fire and building things on fire." And I'm like, "Wow, that's just like when I was a kid. That's really cool." So then I asked him, "Did they ever have to call the fire department on you?" And she's like, "Of course not. Never got that out of hand." So my story. So a couple years ago, I was at my father-in-law's house for Christmas. And for those of you who don't know, I am a fire performer. I play with fire. And I had just done a set for them on Christmas Eve, I believe, and then my sister-in-law came up to me and was standing there a little bit quiet. Without missing a beat, she asked, "Did your parents ever have to call the fire department on you as a kid?" And I stopped. And I took a little too long to answer because I couldn't decide what the right answer was. It's like one of those questions like, "Do you still beat your wife?" Yes, no, no, yes, no. Ah! So they asked how many times did my parents have to call the fire department when I was a kid. And the answer is none. But the answer is also 3 times because the fire department was called. It just wasn't called by my parents. And actually, 2 of them were a kid. One of them was in New York City, and that's a whole other side story. But when I was a kid, I like to play with fire. And sometimes I never burnt down any buildings or houses or anything like that. But since I did grow up on a farm, I did set the woods on fire, as they would say down south, on a number of occasions. Well, 2 occasions that the fire department had to come. That's my fire story.